All right, it looks like we're live. What the heck? I just checked my hair. I swear to goodness, and it didn't look like that. Well, I fixed this. How's everybody doing? How's it going this morning? And this is all backwards from my perspective too, so it's really fun. Here we go. Good enough, right? No one's offended by my weird hair. It's getting cut tomorrow, and I think it knows it. What is it doing? Anyway, that's fine. I'll take it. Cool. How are we doing today? Um, Hi, let me just catch up really quickly here. It is so good to be back here. Last week, I wanted to be here so badly, but the weather in the East Coast, as you may know, was kind of atrocious. And I ended up sleeping in an airport that night, which was great because I also have what folk traditions would consider this thing called wildfire. It's an irritation of the skin, and it was an irritation, let me tell you. So I got to sleep on an airport floor with that on the same hip that was the only side of my body that would let me be comfortable on the airport floor, just for some amazing, like, karmic hilarity. So that happened. And now I'm back. I'm here. I have medication for that. It is getting so much better. And I hope that everyone is holding up all right. I know the energy of the weekend was kind of hard over here. If it was hard for you guys too, given things that are going on in the world, how we feel about stuff, and God knows what's going on in personal lives. I like this space as our little come back together, remember that there are wonderful people in the world, and talk about how we can help ourselves feel better this week. So, yeah, thank you. Into the Ravenwood. I appreciate you. Let me just catch up on some comments here. We have our wonderful AJ who's going to help me keep track of questions and things. But I try to see if I can catch up with general comments as well. Hey, Kristen. Hey, Jenny. Into the Ravenwood. Good to see you. Gibson optimistically, which I believe is Hunter. And Russ is here. It's good to see you guys so much. Hi, Misty. Oh, man. Yeah, I'm really glad to be here right now. I also was just doing my vocal exercises, which I need to stop doing before I come on to talk to you guys, because I thought I did a nice warm down, but you can tell my voice is a little strained. We'll get better though. Hey, Ren. Kathy, good morning. I will say though, this is because I was just belting the high note in Defying Gravity, which I can do. So I'm pretty proud of that at least. Yeah. Oh, thank you. Speaking of Wicked, this is that whole argument between the brothers about Wicked, because I quote the "Am I wrong?" part all the time. Spoiler: usually I'm not when I'm quoting this part. Yeah. Oh my gosh, AJ, I would love some cool down videos. Right now, I'm using a straw. Here's the thing: I I I don't know if it was COVID, because it was one of those periods of time where COVID was wonky and could show up in a ton of different ways. But I did lose my voice for like a week in 2021. And after that, my high notes have this weird thing. If you've ever seen one of those instruments from like Trinidad where it's a frog and you run a stick over the frog's back and it makes that kind of gravelly sound, my voice does that now and has for years. So I'm working with a vocal teacher to try to do something about it. But it's something. It's a challenge. And yeah, singing is one of my primary ways of calming myself down. Singing can actually get me out of slipping into sort of depressive states. So I use it a ton. It's very important to me. And I sing when I'm doing spell work and I do all of this stuff. So singing, pro tip, is so magical. I hope that you guys, if you enjoy singing, can do that too. Ink spill last week isn't anywhere. Well, that's weird because we did it. We've been having really weird technical issues with that kind of stuff. I'm not sure why. It's a live broadcast. It's supposed to automatically post to YouTube afterwards, like this one does. So not sure if we'll be able to get it back or not, because we are at the whims of technology and we are not tech experts. So sometimes it is what it is, and I hate it, but I hope we can help. The next ding is me. Quick, guys, let's say something that my guides can validate. One tip for high notes: drop your chin. Oh, I do. It's actually not the opposite of instinct. It's just, so this is another good thing. Totally personal aside. I now use a jade roller to massage my face out every day to help with the lowering of the jaw, and it's been helping my TMJ. So, extra tip, if you're looking for help with TMJ, you can do that too. The muscles are wacky in your face. There are a ton of them. Yeah, cool, 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 cool. You've been able to make an energy cleansing playlist. It's been fun. Yay! That's a great idea. Yeah, there's a lot of good music is just so good. I mean, toning is an ancient thing. Music itself is ancient. I love it. But yeah, so oh man, I'm sorry we didn't get to do last week, which is ironic because we had like Neptune coming into Aries, Mars conjunct Pluto. That whole fiasco was part of what was going on with the weather and everything last week. And then we had our full moon yesterday. How's everybody been feeling since the full moon in Leo? This full moon in Leo is actually it's the last full moon in Leo that we'll get before the nodes move into Aquarius and Leo. And that's going to mean that the next full moon in Leo will be a an eclipse. It'll be a lunar eclipse next year. So I hope it went well. Fireflies is a good one by Owl City. I love that one. Um, yeah. So let's see. Music does indeed soothe the savage beast. Yes, it does. It's very helpful. Um, Cool. Yeah, and so this week we've got a ton of stuff going on too. Not as drastic as last week, which is good. So the shifts from last week, which they did show up, man. Those are a bit heavier than what we expect this week. They're still like we're still going through a lot. But the thing that I'm actually looking at is next week. Next week, we have Venus going into Pisces, which we love. We'll take it. We need that. But Mercury will enter pre-shadow for their next retrograde. And Saturn's going to come into Aries to stay until 2028. So that's probably going to be the focus of next week's live. That and the fact that next week is the last full week before we enter into eclipse season again. So February is not treading lightly. It's not its way. So we have tons to talk about. If there's anything that you want to bring up specifically, go ahead. We can get into it. You've been focused on feeling your feelings and trying to function. Yeah, to do Matt. Yeah. It's very important. Over the weekend, I actually needed to do the same thing. I needed to take a detox from news. I needed to do the things that I love and get back into like my personal sphere. And also I started knitting a melt the ice red hat. So that was fun. Not knitting, crochet, my bad. But yeah, so I have it almost to the size that I need it to be. And then I'll get to do the pointy part with the tassel, and I'm very excited about it. It's not that hard of a project. I really enjoy it. And the proceeds from buying the pattern do go to helping people who are affected from, certain icy conditions. So yes. You're going to join a local chorus, Ravenwood. That's so cool. I hope you have so much fun with that. I want to be a good participant in the world, but I can't function if I watch the news right now. That is not a bad thing. I was literally having this exact discussion with my husband yesterday because I was like, if I turn it off, am I, just ignoring everything that's there? We settled on the fact that no, you can take a day or two or a week and come back, get your information, and then act on it. Yeah, there's going to be a tassel on my hat. I'm very excited about it. You know what? I could see how my hair could look. Yeah, it is copper, and there is the I think it's supposed to be turquoise. But yeah, it does look like it's oxidation. I'll take it. That sounds fun. That sounds very fey. Yeah. Ren, congratulations. Honestly, there are too many social media outlets right now. It's hard to keep track of. And then being on all of them, you're just getting inundated 4 times. Yeah. Yep. Cool. Nice. Awesome. Yeah, it's you make the really excellent point, Jenny, that we're talking about music and setting boundaries. And I kind of love that too, because with Saturn inching towards Aries right now, boundaries are going to be a thing that we may have to more actively maintain. And so look, let's talk about what does that look like? What does it look like when you have to actively maintain your boundaries? I've actually been reading a book from recommended by my therapist on boundaries just to get better at them in general because there's so much going on right now, so many shoulds, coulds, woulds that we're surrounded by that we really need to get centered on the I am, I do, I will, I don't, I won't situations. And those are kind of where we get our boundaries from. And Russ, I'm hoping I get to see the monks today or tomorrow. Fingers crossed I get to see them. They're going to be here regardless. I'm sending them all the positivity, but it would be really cool to see them and the dog, Aloka. But yeah, so I was reading a book on boundaries just because they can get slippery, right? They can get so slippery. And with Saturn being in Pisces the last few years and so close to Neptune, they've probably felt more slippery than ever because we've had to take down some boundaries we had before, open our awareness to new things, go outside of our comfort zone a little bit, and then reform our boundaries. So Saturn in Aries, one of the things that I really think we're going to be doing is reforging our boundaries. And that's going to look maybe a little bit different than it used to, or you may return to the way you used to hold boundaries in some ways. Saturn really likes to go back to how did I do this before when it worked? Let me do that again. and I'm finding that for myself right now. And it's not, I really want to emphasize boundaries are not an insult to the people that you are holding the boundaries with. So please do not take it that way. If they take it that way, they are going through their own work. And that cannot, I know, I wish it were different, but that cannot dissolve your boundaries for the sake of them figuring out theirs. You will teach boundaries best by doing it yourself. This is how everything works. I seriously cannot think of an example that it doesn't work this way. When you do it yourself and lead by example, people understand better because they can see it in action. And if you want to be able to teach something, you have to do it yourself so you can figure out how to explain it to someone else so that they can emulate it and then adapt it to their own needs. That is how I have seen it done with astrology. That's how I've seen it done with every other modality that I do. And I'm noticing it with boundaries as well. So when we're looking at our boundaries, you really just need to focus it all in, draw everything in. If this is something that can help you through the week, don't do anything external for maybe a couple days, whatever feels realistic to you. Don't do anything external. Ask yourself what matters to you. What does it look like to maintain and to tend to your own energy with your friends? What does it look like to tend to your own energy with your partner, with your family, with your workload, with your social media, with those, invisible mass of faces that represent the social media timeline? What do you need to feel like a pillar, which is what Saturn ideally can help us feel, right? Saturn is the spine. It's flexible. You can move it, you can do stuff, but it holds you up and it has to be maintained. Spines, when they break, are painful. So think about the spine as a really good analogy for your boundaries. Yes, they can be flexible, but if you bend them too far, they will break. And then it's something that is very difficult to come back from. Not impossible. We've seen amazing things happen both with spines and with boundaries. Boundaries probably easier than spines, but think about it in that way. Draw in your energy, feel what you need. What are your non-negotiables? I need this, I need this, I need this, I need this. If someone comes up to you and they have a proposition, an opportunity, a request, does it expand on or restrict on what I need? That will help you decide if it's a yes or a no. And if it's a maybe, then it's also a maybe not right now. You do not have to say, well, it's a maybe, which means I could do it. And then if you're exhausted by feeling that, by saying that, maybe it's a not right now. So those are some things that I would keep in mind when we're figuring out our boundaries. We have time. You do not have to do this all at once. You don't have to figure it out this week or today or anything. You will figure it out through experience by setting the intention that you want to do this. Just a caution, you're probably going to invite situations that will help you figure it out. And that can sometimes feel like testing you. As soon as I finished reading this book the other day, I got a message from someone. And when the message popped up, as soon as the audiobook was finishing, I was like, this is the test. I know it is. Sure enough, it was a message that was pushing on my boundaries, that was, offering some stuff that I didn't need to hear, that didn't feel supportive. And so I knew in that moment, it's like, okay, what does my boundary look like? How is it fair? How is it, not pushing? How is it not, hurting anybody else? And how can I communicate it in a fair way and then maintain it if there is pushback? That's the hardest thing. And I know, trust me, I come from a long line of people who push boundaries and test them over and over and over and over again for decades. And sometimes you just have to say, nope, I'm still the same person. Nope, it's still the same answer as before. Um, and that's okay, because you're teaching people who you are, what you need, how you can be treated. And that is then going to become an excellent manifesting technique for aligned relationships. When you create space, think about a boundary not as a hard line, but as like a puzzle piece, right? You're shaping your puzzle piece. This is where I can give. This is where I need to receive. This is my hard line of I just have to maintain this because it's what I need for myself. Everything over here is me. And then here we can blend, we can compromise. You are creating a puzzle piece that allows for the right fit to come in. If it's not a right fit, it doesn't come in. So it's just as much a manifesting technique as anything else, if that helps to be a good motivation for actually working on your boundaries. Man, yeah, they are an important priority. Is the book I'm reading helpful? It was helpful. Stuff I mostly already knew, but just it compartmentalized it in a bunch of contexts of like social media, relationships, family, example scenarios, and what it would sound like to hold a boundary there. If someone's interested in the book, I'm happy to reference it here. I do not hoard resources. I love to share them. I'll just have to find it, which I can do on my phone. Yeah. So if you would like to know what book I was reading, this came recommended from my therapist. And it was, again, it's the act of reading and listening puts you into that theta brainwave, and that helps with belief work. So the simple act of like, I was walking on a treadmill, listening to it and being conscious about it and taking it in and imagining scenarios. And I feel like it really helped to do some of that belief work with me where I needed some touch-ups for sure. So, even if it's something I already knew, it was helpful to have a refresher. Yeah, more resources is always helpful. So the book is Set Boundaries, Find Peace by Nedra Glover Tawwab with 2 W's. So Set Boundaries, Find Peace. And it's nice. Also, the author does the voice for the audiobook, and so you can hear when she gets a little sassy on your behalf as the reader, and I liked that too. So that was good stuff. Yeah, set boundaries, find peace. Yeah, and now I'm reading Dungeon Crawler Carl stuff. So that's where I am. But we'll talk about that more on the bookend episode. Yeah, of course. Again, always happy to offer resources. That reminds me. I did a podcast episode with a theological college in Canada last week on Friday. They were interviewing me about, how can Christianity benefit from incorporating folk magic and astrology into it? And I had thoughts, and I got to share them, and I gave a lot of resources there. But it also reminds me, I have some really cool news. And if you were on the ink spill on Friday, you know this already, but I haven't been able to announce it otherwise, just because I've been all over the place and resting. But bear with me, because this may not sound as exciting to you guys as it is to me. There is a conference in the astrological community. We have a couple of them that are like the big conferences, like our Comic-Cons and Galaxy Cons and whatever. And the biggest one is the United Astrology Conference. It only happens every 4 years. It's like the Olympics of astrology. People come from all over the world for it. It's like the primo conference. And I was selected to be one of their lunch speakers this year in September. And I'm so excited because it's a like once in a 4-year opportunity. And I get to be one of their speakers. So in September, I will be giving a lecture at the United Astrology Conference, and I'm super, super excited about it. So just sharing that here too, because I love you guys. Yeah, it's really cool. I thought I was just going to end up being there working as vice president of NCGR, but now I also get to be one of the lecturers, which feels really nice. I love it. And I already know it's only an hour long lecture. So, like, get me started on something and I can talk for an hour, obviously. But I'm going to have a really good time. I get to talk about structuring your novel using astrological charts and timing. I've actually found ways to take traditional astrological techniques and use them to structure a story and write it. And I'm doing that right now with my book, Tear Down the Sky, which hopefully will be something that you guys can access soon. It's probably going to end up being a duology, but I'm about 50,000 words into the manuscript and only about like the first plot point. So that's why it's probably going to be a duology because I'll have to split it into two books. But yeah, I'll be able to talk about that more in September as well. The book will be long finished by then, hopefully pitching it and looking for publishers at that time. But yeah, it's going to be really, really cool to be able to speak on this topic, which has been something I'm very excited about for, I don't know, since before 2020, but that's when I wrote my book about it. This one right there. That book right there, that cover is actually a little bit about making fiction books a healing modality, how to write a book that is also a healing modality. And of course, that's what Em and I both do. And I like to infuse some astrology in it as well. So I'll be able to talk about that at UAC, United Astrology Conference. Fun stuff there too. Yeah. Thank you guys. So tell me how you guys are doing. This is not just about me, talking at you. How's your week going? What are you guys up to? How did you celebrate the full moon or Imbolc yesterday? Um, uh, Definitely interesting. Yeah, when the podcast goes live, Russ, I will I will be sharing it. It's only about a 30-minute podcast episode, but I think I did it. I said most of what I wanted to say. And this is an organization that is in Canada, and so they're not exactly as in touch with the problematic issues we're dealing with the more of fundamentalist Christian branches in America. Christianity is practiced very differently outside of that particular stereotype, denomination, whatever you want to call it. I call it ridiculous. So I got to kind of infuse a little awareness into that as well, which felt really good. And if anybody who wants to share resources in the chat, by the way, yes, of course, we are all able to access resources. I'm not going to say like don't share a resource. I can't think about it. I can't think of a resource that would be problematic. But if I ever see one, I will let AJ know to remove it. But AJ, since it's you, if it's about self-care, yes, please. Yeah, of course. I'm very excited. I actually work with this person. He's creating a doctorate program that will be a model for new preachers that would include astrology, divination, and folk magic in their actual education for running their churches. And I'll tell you what, if that's the direction that stuff moves into, I feel a little bit better. Just a little bit. Yeah. Yeah. No, I appreciate it, AJ. Yeah. So, as we're, if you guys want to bring anything up, please feel free. I noticed when Saturn was in Aries last time, I was able to feel angry again. Been a huge for setting my own boundaries. Yeah. So, do we want to talk a little bit about Saturn in Aries? We'll talk about it next week too, but we have a lot to cover next week. So, if we put some of it in this week, I don't think it's going to hurt us. My voice is finally coming back. Woohoo. So, Saturn in Aries is notable. We'll put it that way. Saturn in Aries is notable because of a thing called essential dignity. In astrology, the planets can be in one of 12 signs, right? And throughout those 12 signs, there are signs that planets really like to be in, really don't like to be in, are really cool in, are really not cool in, and then are somewhere in between, like don't care, right? Saturn in hang on, jar. I'm going to catch up Jenny here. Okay. So Saturn in Capricorn, where Saturn was in 2020, is in domicile. So Saturn was strong in Capricorn. Saturn was at home in Capricorn. Saturn is the landlord of Capricorn. AJ, that's an excellent resource. I've heard about that a lot. So I think that's a really good one to share. Saturn in Aquarius is at home, it is in domicile. And so Saturn is the landlord of Aquarius. We had those 6 years roughly of Saturn being in domicile, being able to function the way Saturn would want to function. When you're at home, you have everything you need to do whatever you want to do because you built this environment for yourself. So you have your stuff within arm's reach. I have all my fidget toys here so that I can talk to you guys and still, make my brain feel happy. And I have my water right here, the whole thing, my ring light, my astrology software, everything I need. If I were in an airport, that'd be a little different. I would have to adapt, right? And I wouldn't be able to do things to the fullest of my ability, or I would have to cancel entirely. That would be like the opposite of being in domicile. So the signs that are opposite Capricorn and Aquarius, which for reference are Cancer and Leo, those are troubling signs for Saturn. Saturn can't function as naturally as Saturn would want to function in those signs because the resources aren't there, the support isn't there, the ring light's not there, the flights are causing us to reschedule and cancel and whatever for the analogy. But then there are places where we're celebrated, right? When some of us, when we go home for the holidays, the bedroom is made up specially for us. Someone bought our favorite foods and put it in the fridge and, like, welcome to my home. My house is your house. Let me celebrate you here. Or get the executive suite in the hotel. This is exalted. This is when your presence is so appreciated that you are being supported by the people or by whatever organization you're there. An exalted position in my case will be UAC, right? My presence is being anticipated and prepared for. The speakers there, all the same, right? We have this sort of elevated position of, hey, I'm going to actually put your name on the poster because we're excited to have you. Taylor Swift, when she goes to a city, is exalted. And so the opposite of that, though, is like astrological cancel culture. Saturn is exalted in Libra. The opposite of Libra is Aries. And so Saturn is not only able to be a good leader, but is celebrated as the best leader in Libra. We love Saturn. Saturn is like the perfect person for the job at this time. Woohoo, right? But when you have the opposite of that, you have a leader that is not the perfect person for the job. You have someone, this establishment, Saturn, what Saturn represents are foundations, laws, structures, and those come from our leadership and legislation and those kinds of things. And so when we see that we are in this position where the governor of those things comes into the sign of its fall, we realize these rules don't work for us anymore. We realize the people who like these rules may not have our best interests at heart. We find potentially, one of the words that my mentor and I have used, corruption in the way things are done. Unreliable leadership, right? To put it simply, unreliable laws, unreliable structures. It's, when you've built something and it was potentially like on cement or something, but it's been 30 years. So that's deteriorated a little bit and now it's wobbly, right? So we are in this time where Saturn is coming into a sign that is going to show us where structures, foundations, the things that we build upon need to be rebuilt, need to be tended to, maintained, or redone entirely. And so Saturn also, in a more personal sense, helping us understand our boundaries. That's why I say with the fire of Aries, we reforge our boundaries. Saturn will be in Aries between now and 2028. So that is also why I say you have plenty of time to figure it out. But I hope that helps. And now Aries, right? Saturn, to your point about being able to feel your anger. Aries is a cardinal fire sign. It is that spark. Aries, if we think about Aries as the god of war and other things, that anger is available. Is anger always bad? No. Sometimes anger is actually showing you where a boundary is being pushed too far. So you don't have to take that anger and lash out on other people. That's projection. But you can take that anger and say, okay, what about this is pushing my boundaries too far? This shows me the boundary I need to reset. Now that boundary will help you feel the feelings of that and take care of yourself with hopefully without, creating casualties in your relationships and things like that, at least unnecessary ones. there is the potential, especially since later this year we do have a Venus retrograde in the sign of her detriment coming up. It may be a tough year for relationships this year. Not to say that they're all going to fall apart, but they will have to be renegotiated. They will have to be re-understood. You're going to have to come back together and say, this is who I am, this is who you are. Do they go together? Great if they can. You can do that. You can take a relationship, reassess it, and come back even stronger. So please know that it's not the end of the world, but it is a time of getting the elbow grease in there and doing the work to make sure that what we're doing is built to last. That's one of the things that Saturn does best, is say, hey, is it built to last? If not, down goes the Jenga tower. So I hope that was helpful. Saturn is the greater malefic. So, yes, a lot of these topics are harder topics, sterner topics. Venus, of course, totally different. Jupiter, totally different. We are going to have a period after next week where Venus is in exaltation, Jupiter is in exaltation. And at some point, God, soon, Jupiter is going to go. Are we going to get them both at the same time? No, Venus is going to go into Aries before Jupiter goes direct, but they'll still both be in the signs of their exaltation. So that should bring some sweetness too. Just in time for eclipse season and such, and another Mercury retrograde. But we take what we get and we make the most of it. So, yeah. Any questions on that? Already experiencing some of those relationship discussions. Glad there's something in astrology that points to that. Yeah. I mean, we're in a time of humanity where it's a very figure out where you stand kind of situation, right? Like society is pushing us in that direction. So Lauren, I'm glad you're getting validation from this, and I'm glad you're feeling it coming and you're already kind of getting yourself warmed up. And just know, again, take your time. We don't have to lash out over all these things. It's very contemplative. I recommend journaling more than anything to help you really contemplate this kind of stuff and figure out what it means to you. Journal it, then communicate it, and then live it. Act it out. Let it be that this is my day. This is what I need, and I will do these things. And some of that obviously can be flexible, right? Like we don't want to get too rigid. I of all people know what it's like to get too rigid. But you will know your balance. You will know when something is at peace, and you will know when something is not, where it's off to one side too much or the other. Yeah, I know you guys will, because you're great people. So yeah, I hope that helped. I hope it made a little bit of sense, and that it, felt encouraging, because I don't want you to feel discouraged going into this time. Yeah. Personal development is never a bad thing. I'm pretty sure that's what life is, but when we do it as consciously as possible, we tend to navigate things a little bit more easily. So this coming from someone who's still in their 12th house year, but yeah, awesome. Thank you, Lauren. Yeah. So let's see. Another thing happening this week you might hear a lot about on social media, perhaps, is Uranus going direct tomorrow on the 3rd. Tomorrow evening. Uranus is in Taurus. Uranus is in Taurus and getting ready to move to Gemini. So it's another one of those transitions we're going to see this year. Let me pop forward and see when, because it's going to take him a bit of time to actually get back into Gemini. I think it's in April. April what? April 25th. So between tomorrow and April 25th, Uranus is making that final crawl out of Taurus for the last time in my life. Uranus has an 86 or 84 year cycle. So it's going to be 80 years-ish before Uranus gets back into Taurus, and good freaking riddance. So many of my placements are in Taurus. I do have one in Gemini that he's approaching, so I'm not done with Uranus yet, of course. But we are coming into that time where Uranus will move back into Gemini, and you'll never have to deal with Uranus and Taurus again. So that's nice. Uranus is characterized as instability in a lot of situations, as progress, as innovation, as ingenuity, and all these wonderful things that come in times when things aren't stable as well, right? Uranus in Gemini, we can imagine that that unpredictability, having even less predictability because it's in an air sign that is also mutable. So I'm expecting there will be a lot of like, what the heck is going on situations over the next few years with Uranus there. We'll notice it the most when Uranus connects to another planet. So it's not going to be all the time, but it is going to be a slow thing that we'll probably notice more in hindsight later of the change that Uranus may bring to the way we communicate, our technology, the way we travel. We may see some brilliant innovations when it comes to information technology, travel, those kinds of things. So those are things to look forward to. And also knowing that, it's very unpredictable. Um, so as an astrologer, I see Uranus and I'm just like, you know what? I don't know. And I have to be okay with that sometimes. So Russ asks, what's it going to mean when they get to Gemini? Yeah. So hopefully, Russ, I just helped out with some of that. But for you personally, anybody who has personal placements in Gemini, you'll just want to take a look at when Uranus reaches that same degree as your placements. I can speak from experience. In a couple different ways. Uranus hit my Mercury, my Sun, then my descendant, all over the course of like half of its time in Taurus. So Uranus in Taurus has been the most destabilizing time of my life. And I'm here, right? I'm still happy. I still have good things happening. I still have my relationships. So you will survive it. Hey, Aaron, you will survive it. There are some good things that you can find out of it. Again, it can bring eureka moments, which are fantastic. It can also really shake things so that any illusions or dust that was building on something, it goes away. And that will be relative to whatever placement it's coming for. So if it's coming for your Sun, your sense of identity, what your spirit feels drawn to may suddenly change. You may just be like, you know what? I need to do or be something different for a little while. I feel drawn to something else. My inspiration is tugged that way, like hard left or hard right. For me, when it was my descendant, that was when things with my partner shook up to the point that we had to move in like a period of 2 weeks. And it was like this big emergency thing and it was wild. And now it's led to the best part of our lives. So again, trust the process when it comes to Uranus. Now, Uranus with a lot of fortune, which is, you might remember, Uranus was stationing retrograde on my lot of fortune the day I got hit by a car. There were other factors in play there as well. Okay. So I really want to make sure that, like, even though that was quintessential, yep, lot of fortune is very different than things like the Sun. So, just something to keep in mind. It does not have to mean that you're going to get injured or popped up into the air by a car. Your moon is in Gemini, your solar return is April 15th. Sounds applicable. So that means that so this is great, Aaron. Since Uranus is not going to get into Gemini until after your solar return, your solar return this year is still going to have Uranus in Taurus. Here's a fun fact. Our solar returns set the tone for our year. It's the birth of the year. So it's like a little mini natal chart for the conditions and the qualities of this year and how you will do this year or how this year will treat you. And so the solar return is like the first layer of reference. And then when things move in real time, they modify that a little bit. But with Uranus remaining in Taurus, that moon in Gemini may not feel the full effects of Uranus this year. It may feel the incoming effects of it. The next year, depending on where Uranus is, how close it is to your moon, or if it's past your moon, you will have that Uranus in Gemini in your solar return next year. So if throughout the course of this year, Uranus actually manages to get past your moon, which it may or may not, Uranus is not a very fast planet, right? Then you may actually have a mitigated experience of Uranus crossing over your moon. You want to take a look at your solar return and see if Uranus is roughly within 3 degrees of your placement to see if that's going to be something that's sort of with you for the year. And that'll let you know. You just had your solar return last week, but now I'm in 6th house here in Gemini. So yeah, Lauren, Gemini is going to be very active for you all year. Transits to and through Gemini will be active for you as well. When Uranus comes in, you may notice things shake up and life gets a little bit spiced up and exciting. Yeah. Happy solar return to all the people who have them coming up as well. And again, if you want more context on this, I can't do chart readings here, right? But I can and I do offer them through consultations. So if you would like a consultation, I will do all of this math for you, and I will bring it up for you, and we'll strategize what that might look like in context of what you already know about your life, so that you can anticipate as much as we can try to anticipate, and then go from there. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I got mad at Uranus because it was in my seventh house. So it was all stuff that was out of my control, right? Out of my control. I couldn't do anything about it because it was all in my partner's life. And I had to be a witness to that and be connected to that and feel terrible about it and not be able to fix it. And so that, as my Taurus sun wants to control everything, was hard. If you have Gemini placements, you're already pretty good at rolling with the punches and being flexible. So I imagine you'll handle it with more grace than I did. And I'm really happy for you on that, especially Gemini moons. Yeah. Yep. Awesome. Yeah. And if you want to book a consultation with me, crystallinesophia.com has the direct links to book my consultations. Yeah. I have so much fun talking to you guys there. We have a couple different options as well, so you can find the one that works best for you. Cool. Awesome. Yeah. So that's Uranus going direct tomorrow. Where am I at now? Let's get back into February. Oh, hey, I never got to see. I'm a native Pennsylvanian, and I never got to see if Punxsutawney Phil saw his shadow today. And that makes me a little bit sad. Punxsutawney Phil 2026, because it's Groundhog Day. So, said to have seen a shadow. I knew he would. You can tell. 6 more weeks of winter, according to the groundhog, y'all. But that's okay. So I actually know of a way. Rick Levine, who is a prominent astrologer, more in the evolutionary astrology, but knows his traditional stuff really well, and I respect it, once said that the further Mercury is away from the sun during an ingress, then you can expect like a later transition between those seasons. So if I go back and I look at, I'm not going to pull this one up because it's going to be a very quick thing. I do also do sigil work. Yes. If that's something you feel you need, I'd be happy to do that for you. I've had some really good feedback on sigils that I've done before, especially if they're for like personal uses. I've done them for boundaries and that kind of stuff. 2025 is our last Capricorn ingress. Yeah. Okay, so Rick Levine's theory kind of plays out here. Mercury was kind of like pretty like 18 degrees away from the sun, which is further than half of its distance that it can be from the sun. So yeah, and it's behind the sun, so a slow moving thing. In this case, it works. So the groundhog agrees with the astrology per Rick Levine's theory. Our local forecast is more reliable than a rodent. Clearly jealous of PA. Is it though? Yeah, I feel bad for Punxsutawney. They have so many lights on him and stuff. It's so ceremonial. I don't know what they actually use to determine it, because they're certainly not using what this should be is omenology, right? It should be watch a groundhog in its natural state, see what it does, and then make the prediction based off of that. That is completely corrupted with the way that it is ceremoniously handled. So yeah, I take the groundhog with a grain of salt at this point. But yeah, cool. Yeah, so there's that too. Fun stuff. Oh man. Yeah. We do also have the Aries ingress for 2026 coming up next month. I will be on my Patreon doing a live video of that, where I will go through it and have everything open for questions and kind of point everything out, show the chart, the whole shebang. So if you're on Patreon, I'm probably going to do it for the magical realism tier and higher, I would think. If you have podcast access, you're good to go. I think I'm going to do it for that tier and higher. And that way, I will go deep into it. We'll spend the first half hour doing a general overview, and that will get shared publicly with everybody. And then we'll spend the second half hour going into the deeper stuff. If anybody wants to know the nitty gritty astrology, if anybody has any questions that are not as suitable for sharing openly publicly, I will do my best to address those as well. It's a wild year coming up. I wouldn't say be afraid of it. I will never say be afraid of it. I think we need to take things one day at a time, always. Um, but it's definitely a year where you want to check your narrative. Boundaries are going to be really helpful because you need to know what's real for you. So I will say that first and foremost. Yeah. It's so crazy to see the astrology there, and it's just so loud. So, yeah. Cool. Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm going to be on a podcast coming up. We're doing the recording next week where they really want to talk about folk magic. And they're going to talk a lot about our trips. And I'm very excited about that too. So we'll be able to share that one too. A sigil for protecting a protester. Yeah. I don't know that I made that sigil, just to be fair. If I shared that one, I probably shared it from someone else. The resource should be in its yeah, it should be in the post of what I shared. I think that one was from Brandon Weston. If you got it from my Patreon, I'm pretty sure that was from Brandon Weston, who does Ozark folk magic. We run in a similar community, but yes, I just want to make sure credit goes where it's due. Yeah. Yep. Cool. Yeah, that would be the Brandon Weston one. Yeah. I really respect a lot of Brandon's work. And I wanted to make sure everybody had access to that one. So I shared the link to the post there on my Patreon. I think it was for any paid Patreon level. So if you're on Patreon, you should be able to access that too. Because this is not the time to be hoarding resources. No time is, but especially now. If someone's got something that feels impactful, I'm sharing it. I did share. I should probably post this over on the Patreon too. I'll just take the video of it. This one was mine. Yesterday, I took some of the actual ice that we have gotten. I'm in Virginia, by the way. So we have had ice that you literally cannot get up off the ground with a pickaxe in a lot of our community. And I gathered some of the ice that had been coming up off of our deck, put it in a cauldron, and did one of the melting ice spells with it. And while I was in San Francisco last week, I found one of these, prayer candles that look like this. This one's obviously evil eyes and stuff, but I found one that was emulated after saints candles, and it was for Ted Lasso. And I decided that's as magical as anything because Ted Lasso is the unofficial patron saint of non-toxic masculinity. So when I did the melting ice spell, I also used pink salt and burned the Ted Lasso candle. So you can find that on my TikTok and my Instagram, but I will also try to post it to my Patreon so it's easier to find. Yeah. Oh, I love Ted Lasso. I really do. Yeah. I'm excited. I'm excited for the new season. I hope they do a good job with it. I'm sure they will, but please do. Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Well, we have about 10 more minutes. Jack knows it because he gets lunch after this, don't you, buddy? And yeah, anything you guys want to talk about, I'm here for you for the next 10 minutes. Yeah, Jack, he's such a good boy. Do we want to, I can try to pick him up if he doesn't run away too much. He has this really great backwards shuffle, and I try to respect it because that's a boundary too, isn't it? Do you want to come up? You want to come up? No? Okay. Jack is a chunkier boy than Zelda, so it's, harder for him to come up. But it's up to you, Bubba. You're a cutie. He is adorable. How is Zelda healing? Zelda, I think, is good. So if anybody's wondering, Zelda was having an issue where we thought she had arthritis, but it turns out it was probably tendonitis that had flared up. So we got her medication, and she is doing a lot better. And we're getting her, the house sort of set up for her. Can I pick you up, buddy? No? Okay. So she's doing well. We got her a special bed for her joints, that whole thing. She's a precious baby girl. I love her so much. And we're getting her even more support this week. So Aronia says I've been looking for creativity with ice and ice ideas. The cauldron one, like I was talking about before. There's also this really great hat if you knit or crochet. There's this really great hat that's going around right now. I am almost done making my brim, and I'm very proud of it. It's a red melt the ice hat. If you Google that, you will find on Ravelry there is a $5 pattern, and proceeds do go to people that are affected by icy conditions. And yeah, so and it's you can do it however you want, but it's actually modeled after a Norwegian red hat that was actually outlawed in the 40s during a certain period of time because it was used for resistance. So it was so recognized at that time, and a lot of people right now are remaking that hat. I am one of them. I'm very proud that I am almost done with the bottom half, and it should be a pretty. The bottom half is literally like 90 rows of the same thing. So I worked all weekend on it. Yeah. And so I am finishing the bottom part, and then I will be doing the top part in the little tassel. I hope I'll have it finished by the end of the week. And maybe I'll be able to show it to you guys by the ink spill, if not sooner. But it's actually nice and warm. I $5 skein of yarn that I got, over the weekend. It was buy two, get one free. So that was fun. And yeah, so a melt the ice hat is a really great thing. And like as you're making it, you're doing something that feels important. It feels active, even when all I can do right now is be in my house and sit on a chair. But I'm making something that feels important. And I will be wearing it to any events I go to of the variety of resistance, which will be several. I don't care if it's summer, I'm still going to wear it. So what would we do without pets? Oh my God. Um, I wouldn't even want the financial stability. I need the emotional stability, and that's where my pups come in. So, yeah, the other morning, I was hit hard by the news on Friday regarding the new files. I can take a lot. I am a Scorpio rising with a Scorpio moon and Pluto on my ascendant. Like I can handle some intense news and information. But when I read about the calendar girls in the files, that hurt. It poked my own trauma a little bit too hard, and other things. And so Saturday morning, Dan came downstairs, and I was in the hallway with Zelda, just sort of petting her. And Dan came down. He said, "You okay?" And I said, "Yep." And he said, "Okay, you're on the floor petting a corgi. Are you sure you're okay?" And I'm like, "I am fine." I spent the whole day cuddling my pups, and they are wonderful. They were super helpful. And then I got, the yarn and all the other stuff, and I am leaning my energy into where I can create expansion. That is what my focus is. Where can I create expansion? And I want to expand concepts of peace. I want to expand concepts of freedom. I want to expand concepts of comfort and justice, by definition of everyone having everything they need, and a system that actually makes it accessible for people to get what they need. So, a step even beyond equity, justice, the clarity and transparency of a system made for people to be able to actually function within it. So, that is where I am leaning my energy. And so I decided, the most actionable thing I can do, because I need to do something or I'm going to drive myself nuts, was make a hat. And that's sort of my, like, I can't do anything, but I got to do something. I'm going to make a hat, and then I might make another hat, and then I might make another hat and give it away to people. I don't care. Um, Stay tuned. They take a little bit of time. I literally spent 5 straight hours doing the hat yesterday, and I'm still not done, and that was after hours of doing it the day before. So, yeah. Um, yeah, so I am gonna go hopefully see the monks. The monks are arriving in Richmond today. I believe they have a 3 p.m. Rally down at our city hall that I may or may not be able to go to. I would really like to walk with them, and they'll be walking in my direction. I'm a little bit north. So they'll be walking in my direction tomorrow morning, and I'm hoping to be able to catch that as well. Dan and I will likely be there. Um, so that'll be nice. Our roads are still actual ice rinks right outside our house. So the closer the better. Heard they showed up at Manassas Battlefield, which is where everyone goes sledding. Yeah. Oh, you heard ice showed up there. I actually lived in Manassas for a year. And that ticks me off too, Aaron. That's not great. That's not great at all. But yeah. Hey, Gabe. Yes, I'm really hoping. Also, the monks have a dog with them, so like, I would like to see Aloka as well. I actually have reached out to them. If they need something, they are able to call me where I can give them food or something on their way through. Um, yeah, yeah. I think it's definitely worth it to be able to take it and say, like, look at this is what they are doing. And they noticed so much issue that they came to do this and make this demonstration. So I'm gonna it just feels like another thing that I can tangibly do. Yeah. It's one of the small daily actions. So yeah. Well, I hope that everybody is feeling I know you all have made me feel encouraged today, and I really appreciate you. Um, Yeah, it's I've seen them on local news, AJ. Lots of local news stations have been reporting on them, especially Richmond. Richmond is apparently trying to really step up their game to welcome them, so I'm excited about that. Um, Erin, I'm glad you enjoyed our podcast episode on melting some ice. It's the times. It's just the times. It's what it, I have no words, which is weird. I'm a wordy person, as you can tell. Um, but yeah, I am disappointed in a lot of the way things are going, and the best I can do is find every little way that I'm able to, while also making sure I rest enough to be useful when it's my turn. The new VA governor is honoring the monks today. I knew she would. Okay, good. So she'll probably be there at the city hall thing. Um, good, good. That's appropriate. That is correct. That is the thing to do. Um, yeah. Yes. So as we're rounding this out, thank you, AJ. Great reminder. I actually got a new book on Baba Yaga lore and some spells and things that are in line with Baba Yaga, inspired by Baba Yaga. So I will be having even more to share on the Rika Twitch streams. So feel free to join us. We'll talk about general stuff too, the general astrology, general folk magic, anything that pops up in the game, but I will have more education behind me to share with you as well. So in order to celebrate that I get to speak at UAC, Dan took me to Mama Luna's over the weekend and I found a Baba Yaga book. So, yep, more stories to share. Always. That's what I love to do. So, yeah, between that and writing stories and, doing as much as I can, let me know what feels useful to you. Stories, astrology, folk magic, this kind of stuff is my passion. So that makes it easy for me to do that. Um, and if I can, I certainly will. And again, if you're looking for something that's like, what is my next thing that I can do? What can I use to feel in control? If you want a consultation with me, that's what I use. So I use astrology to be like, when is my next move? What can I do right now? What do I do while I'm waiting? All of those things. So I am wishing you all the very best. I hope you have a very gentle week. I hope you take care of your energy. I hope you honor your boundaries and reforge them and define them however you need to. Um, and most of all, I hope that, life is kind to you this week. So thank you guys so much. I will see you on Wednesday, 6 p.m. Eastern time on Twitch, and then again on Friday for the ink spill with M. Oh no, there is no ink spill this week. That's right. Because M will be traveling and Zelda has an appointment. So the ink spill is not happening this week, but the new Inkwell podcast, Alchemist Inkwell podcast episode should release today. So you'll have that. So podcast today, Twitch on Wednesday, and then we'll wait until next Monday where we'll talk a little bit more about coming into eclipse season, Venus moving into Pisces, Mercury pre-shadow in Pisces, and Saturn moving into Aries. Thank you all so much. Have a wonderful week. You are spectacular. I think you're the best, and I appreciate you. You help me a ton. So if you feel like you haven't done anything today, don't worry. You already have. And I will see you all soon.